So the next 3 months, I'll be in this whole new world of book launching because, I mean, when I was self-published, it was literally just you click upload and that's that. Yeah, hi, I'm Matt Rogers. I'm the author of The Forsaken, which is out in July with Simon & Schuster. The Forsaken, it's a blockbuster thriller novel. Best way I can describe it, I always write quite cinematically, so the way I have pitched it to my publisher was sort of the action of John Wick and the philosophy of True Detective. Yeah, so there's two protagonists. So we have Logan Booth, who is an ex-hitman, Jack Reacher-esque character. He's an individualist, so he believes in these older American philosophers like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And so he believed for his entire career that he was killing people for, I guess, a rogue group of vigilantes. And then at the very end of his career, he finds that he was just being manipulated by the CIA the entire time. The book opens with him in a terrible state, and he's only got one remaining friend left who's an old college friend from when he studied journalism at NYU, who's a New York Times reporter, and that reporter is killed for an article that he was working on, and that's what sort of brings Logan back and gives him this motivation to keep going and to figure himself out in the process. And then that's when he meets the second protagonist of the book, who's Alice Mason, who's a young homeless woman living on the streets of New York. And so The Forsaken is pretty much equally both their journeys. And I wanted, it's a platonic relationship, it's not a romance, and I just wanted it to be about two humans helping each other overcome all the different ways that the world has beat them down. This is my first traditionally published book. It's my 37th novel in total. My self-publishing career started about 9 years ago, and I've just treated it as my full-time job from the get-go, and thankfully had enough sales to make a full-time living out of it from the start. And so, yeah, I just showed up to work every day and tried to hit my certain number of words and learned from each book and tried to just get better and better as I went along. So I'm very glad that this is my first traditionally published book, because I feel like over the last few years especially, I've really come into my own voice as an author and found that unique style that works best for me. And so, yeah, I guess this is The Forsaken, I guess, will be my announcement of, this is who I am as a writer. And it's interesting to have so many books in the past, and you can sort of go back and look at them and see the evolution of my work as it's gone on. So it's a nice public record of how I've grown as an author. I've just always written exactly what I want to read. I think that as soon as you start questioning whether this plot point will be received in a certain way, or what people will think of this thing over, like writing this way over another, that's when you can just get completely paralyzed, because then you have to consider every single opinion of who wants what. And I think the books that I've loved the most are the ones that are just gritty, dark, raw, authentic, and not so worried about sanitizing it for the biggest audience possible. That first self-published book I mentioned, I put that out when I was 18. So, that was my debut, technically. And I think I was a good writer for 18, but I was still an 18-year-old writer. So, I don't know that much about the world at that age. But I was obsessed with writing all the way through my teenage years, even before that as a kid, and just read voraciously. So it's always been in my DNA. Like, I'd come home from school and write every single day. I just always had this sense that I would end up being a writer, and I just took a gap year from university and put the first one out there, and that sold well. And then I was able to, do it for a living. So I write a book in about 3 or 4 months usually. I've slowed down now that I'm traditionally published, but that was just what works best for me. Like, I wasn't rushing to meet a schedule or anything. I would just do 1,500 words a day, do that 7 days a week, basically. So that would only take me maybe 3 or 4 hours a day. And then, the planning and the editing on either side of that, and then getting it copy edited, and then uploading it, basically. That's as simple as self-publishing is. I packed a lot of experience and learning and growing into those 9 years. And then, yeah, now I'm 27 and this is my traditional debut. And yeah, it's exciting. It's different. I've always written on a laptop. I started writing at 6 when my dad got a $20 Dell laptop from his work that they were throwing out, and he brought that home. And there's a photo I've got of me tapping away on that. I don't have a set routine in terms of exactly when I start writing, but I approach it in the same way. So I try to do a few hours of deep work. So I put my phone away, headphones on, try to sort of eliminate all distractions. And then I think I'm able to get into this kind of flow state where I'm focused on it and I'm not really paying attention to what the time is or how long I've been writing. And then, yeah, I usually stop after about 1,500 words. And that's when I'm writing a book, that's my routine. And it was it was actually the same for The Forsaken. And I tried to slow it down. And then I realized that I actually do work best at that sort of word count. That maybe that's just habit. What do you do to overcome writer's block? I write almost every single day when I'm writing a book. So I think I've never had to really grapple with it that much. I'm not sure if that's whether I'm just able to kind of sit down and force myself to start. I definitely feel a lot more resistance some days to sitting down and starting. And sometimes it takes, into the afternoon to actually get my butt in the seat and to start typing. But I find that resistance does fall away when I do get started. So I think, yeah, there's a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, which is incredible. He's a historical fiction writer, and that book is all about overcoming resistance when you're doing creative acts, which I read when I was, I think, 16 or 17, and yeah, it resonated with me. And that's all about, it's the sitting down in front of the open page and starting to type that first sentence that I feel like for writers, that's the hardest part. It's not the writing itself. The role of writers and writing in 2025 is, for me, it's just authenticity. So I really tried to say a lot in The Forsaken in terms of human nature and what Logan and Alice are both going through. And it's almost like the action scenes are a vehicle just to explore the deeper themes of what these characters are going through. And I think thrillers can do that really well because inherently you're putting the characters into extremely stressful situations. And I think we love reading about that because we love seeing how people react in those stressful situations. The role of writing in 2025 is to say exactly what you want to say, and to, yeah, do that in spite of whether it might be received one way or the other, just to be authentic. I think when I was 14, I started with the Jack Reacher series. That was my first foray into adult thrillers. And I think there was 20 books or so out at that point, and I binged them in about 3 months. And then, yeah, moved on to Mitch Rapp and all of that genre specifically, just tore through all of it. And that's what made me want to start writing that genre in the first place. I love nihilistic characters and seeing what they're going through and seeing if they can find the light. That's, I guess, the plot of, as I said, True Detective Season 1 is Matthew McConaughey's character going from a nihilist into someone who's inherently hopeful at the end. And I love that journey. So wherever I can find that, whether it's in thrillers or noir or any genre, really, I just, yeah, love reading. First author that started me on my writing journey, the one that stands out the most is Anthony Horowitz, the young adult teen spy author. So the Alex Rider series is my earliest memory of like being obsessed with a book. And I think I read those when I was like 8 or 9 or even younger maybe. But yeah, that was the first series where, I don't know, maybe I was just old enough for it to really suck me in and for me to realize I want to write, I want to do this, I want to captivate people and suck them into, compelling storytelling. And yeah, Anthony Horowitz is my earliest memory of that. We have The Forsaken in July, so the next 3 months I'll be in this whole new world of book launching, because I mean, when I was self-published, it was literally just you click upload and that's that. So it'll be great. I'll be going around to bookshops and interacting with booksellers and readers and things that I've never done before. Even though I've sold all of these copies self-published, it's very much just an ebook that someone reads at home, and then I never meet anyone who's read my books. So that will be great. And then I've got a 3-book deal with Simon and Schuster for this series. So I've finished the sequel already, actually. So the sequel will be out, I'm guessing, the July after, maybe. And yeah, just working on book 3. That's next. Thanks so much for having me.